In my task, I have catered for diversity, specifically for Indigenous students. My initial task is centered around an Indigenous Australian topic and is a sensitive issue on the Australia Day debate and Aboriginal civil rights movements in the early 20th century. In my class, I may be teaching Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. Therefore, as a non-Indigenous teacher, I need to be respectful and sensitive to their learning needs and requirements. Firstly, I would do an acknowledgement of country at the beginning of the lesson. This does not have to be specific to Indigenous history lessons, but should be more widely used across all lessons to build trust between Indigenous students and teachers. It will make these students feel safe in their learning environment. I would warn Indigenous students if I'm using images of Indigenous people who may now be deceased, thus respecting their culture. I will provide them with relatable role models. The topic of Aboriginal civil rights activists will provide Indigenous students with role models of their own. The activists John Patton and William Ferguson are great examples of role models for young Aboriginal students, as they, along with other members of the Aborigines Progressive Association, were some of the earliest Indigenous civil rights activists in Australian history. Often in history, white European historical figures are often celebrated. This can make Indigenous students feel isolated as they do not relate to these people. By providing them with role models from their own history, it promotes inclusiveness in the classroom. Also, I will understand that in most cases for an Indigenous student, English is a second language or even a foreign language to them. Therefore, I will plan to explain things in more than one way to ensure students understand the lesson content and task instructions in order for them to succeed in their learning. By clarifying and explaining tasks clearly and in multiple ways, it will help improve Indigenous student literacy.